I'm Mike Anderson, president of the Aquarium Divers for Coral Society. We're here in Florida, in the Florida Keys, to help the Coral Restoration Foundation with the coral nurseries that they have during this time of this unprecedented heat wave that's going on. It's an honor to be here. What you're looking at here is one of the largest nurseries in the world. It's CRF's nursery, and when we go down, we're going to first take a look at the nursery. This is the first time we're in here. You can see that there's staghorn coral on this tree, turning white. That means it's bleaching out. It's starving to death. It's too hot down here. Coral needs to be below 86 degrees, and on my computer today is 89. Some of the staghorn is large enough it should be outplanted now from the trees to the reef, but outplanting them would just add to their stress. It would be fruitless to try and do that at this time. The thing is to try and maintain these trees, or the corals on the trees, and hopefully when the water temperature drops, we can get them, or they can get them out to outplant on the reef. Just before we came down, we weren't sure what we were going to be asked to do because CRF was busy removing corals, different species that they work with, and the different genotypes of those corals that they work with, and putting them into land-based tanks so that if the ocean temperature doesn't drop and the coral goes beyond bleaching to where it's dead, they'll have a stock of coral to start this whole process over again. And you'll notice that at the bottom there's ropes holding these trees to the seafloor. Right now they've got these trees lowered as far as they can come down to try and help keep the coral cool. In the wintertime, what they'll do is release those ropes and stretch them out so the trees float closer to the surface to keep them warm and get more sunlight. But in this situation here, even having them all the way to the bottom isn't really helping too much. The surface temperature was 92 on this day, and 89 on the bottom, according to my computer. What we're doing is removing unwanted growth on the trees that would smother the tree, and or it's not smother the tree, but smother the coral to keep them alive. It means taking the unwanted growth of algae off of the monofilament, which you can see happening right here, and then also cleaning the PVC pipe and the fiberglass rods that go through the PVC pipe that the coral is hanging off of. To hang the coral like this is to maximize the sunlight that they can get for growth, the nutrients that they can get out of the water, keep them off the bottom where predators can get at them too easily. So hanging them on the tree, it keeps the predators away. The predators that swim, such as the parrotfish and the turtles, can't get at the coral as easily like this because it swings out of the way because it's hanging on that monofilament. This is a really short version of what we were doing. We were down there for probably close to an hour, and as you can see right here, we're wrapping up because we have to, monitor everyone's air supply and head back to the surface. Coral restoration is a way of keeping the reef alive, keeping the ecosystem of the ocean alive. Coral is the key link to the life of the ocean. 25% of all of the marine life in the world lives in coral reefs around the world. Coral reefs only make up 1% of the ocean. A big percentage of that coral reef around the world right now is dead, that have died. And the coral reefs, besides adding to the ecosystem, it also provides over 5 500 million people with their daily protein around the world, and the rest of us who don't get the fish from the reef directly, fish is an optional protein for us. The reef also protects the coastal areas from damaging waves from storms. Without this, without the coral holding the reef in place, the storms would just blow the sand apart. And in the Keys situation, the waves would just wash over the Keys and into the Gulf, taking your infrastructure with it. The reef also provides Florida with over $8.4 billion worth of its state revenue, or money that comes from tourism. You won't have the divers, the fishermen, the glass bottom boats, the snorkelers, and all that, and that then feeds into dive shops and restaurants and hotels. And so this is a big hit, not only in Florida if the reefs die, but also throughout the world, where you have the islands that depend on tourism, like in the Caribbean. So keeping these reefs alive is extremely important. If you're looking now, you'll see that what we're doing is we're now going to be doing monitoring. That's observing what's happening on the reef in real time. Taking a look around here with this video, you can see that this is elkhorn coral here that has been outplanted. Most of what is on the reefs in the Keys right now, as far as the stony corals and branching corals, are outplanted corals that have been done by different foundations, not just the Coral Restoration Foundation. There's only 2% of the corals left, stony corals left, throughout the entire Florida Reef Tract, from Dry Tortugas off of Key West all the way up to West Palm Beach. And a lot of that has been outplanted by people. You're looking here at elkhorn coral that's bleached and staghorn coral that's bleached. This doesn't mean that it's dead. At this point right here, these can come back to healthy condition if the water temperature drops. The coral that's been taken out of the ocean, they can control in tanks the water temperature and the nutriments and keep those corals healthy. But in the ocean, we can't drop the temperature. It depends on Mother Nature. So things like a tropical storm coming in right now would stir the ocean and bring cooler water up from the deep ocean up, and that would be a significant relief to these corals. It's like a person having a fever of over 103. You need help, and in this case, the same thing. It needs cooler water. You could put a person into a tub of cold water and bring their temperature down, and that's what these corals need. So anything above 87 degrees is too much for them. What we're doing here is laying out lines that you then can measure and record what the conditions of the corals are, and take an average of the entire reef and know what's happening on that entire reef. The chart that you saw me hold was on one side shows what you're looking for. Is it healthy? Is it diseased? Is it bleaching? Is it dead? And what's happening here is you work in teams. You go along and you record the condition of the corals that are under the line. And when you get to the end, you switch off to your partner, and the partner does the same thing going back. And what this does is it reduces the error, human error. Is it bleached? Is it diseased, for example? And then you can get an overall picture of what by averaging what the condition of that reef is. This is a section of the reef that's really pretty. It's holding its own. It's pretty healthy. You see that it's teeming with the animal life because there's coverage and food there for them. We're celebrating here the fact that we were able to come down and help. We want to come down and help again. This is a big deal for us, and we're ADFC is proud to help the Coral Restoration Foundation. It was also pretty neat to work with Patty Gross, who is well known in the coral restoration and also in just the diving industry. She's with Force Blue, and with Roxanne Boonstra, who heads up the diving operation for Coral Restoration Foundation. It's pretty cool. One of the reasons that we put this video together is to try and encourage other organizations, even like dive clubs and aquariums, to come down and give the reef a helping hand at a time when it's desperately needed. There are a lot of organizations out there that can come down and volunteer, and there's a lot of foundations in the Keys that people can volunteer with. Thank you.